We discussed today the landmark study that Supergut has conducted on their prebiotic fiber blend. I'm here with Marc Washington, the founder and CEO of Supergut. And in case you don't know who I am, I'm Susanne Mitschke, the co-founder and CEO of Citruslabs. And Marc, I'm a big fan of Supergut. Your fiber bars saved me more than once.
That's so great to hear.
They
And
are
and
great.
it has nothing to do with the fact that we did our clinical study with Citrus Labs, right? You're just
No, I really like them.
I know you, and I know that you are honest. And so that's really, really great to hear. I love to hear it. It's great to see you again, Suzanne.
Yeah, great to see you as well. And your prebiotic shakes, they're amazing as well. I actually really like them as my post-workout shake. And I like
Okay.
that you're
Yeah.
not mega dosing. Obviously
Hmm.
you know what's in it. You know that there are
Yeah.
vitamins and minerals in it. And I really like that, it's just a little and not like 100 or 500
Yeah.
percent of everything that I need.
Yes, yes, yes. No, exactly. It's meant to be a part of a healthy whole food diet, but just something that can help complement that, right? With whether it's a shake or a bar or our unflavored prebiotic powder, which we call the gut healthy GLP-1 booster, are all supposed to complement, fit into your daily lifestyle, however you can get them in.
But before we get into the nitty-gritty, why don't we start at the beginning? So what's the
Yeah.
story behind Supergut?
Yeah, we just jumped right into it, right, Suzanne? Anyways, so the bit of background. So I'm Marc Washington, the founder and CEO of Supergut. And for those who are not as familiar with our brand, so we are a gut health nutrition company. We make prebiotic packed superfoods that are good not just for digestion, but also really impactful for metabolic health, in particular, healthy appetite control, healthy blood sugar. And we know that that's done in part by helping your body naturally create some of the hormones that keep you satiated, called GLP-1 and others as well. But obviously, GLP-1 is the one that most people are familiar with that we help naturally create some of. And yeah, I started the company about 5 years ago, but we started in very much a research phase. And then we went into our first commercial launch. We actually had a different brand name. And that's actually when we did our foundational clinical study working with Citrus Labs. We wanted to do something that was fundamentally different than most food and beverage companies in terms of really validating just how functional these products were for you. And so we did that. And, we rebranded to Supergut to really lean into the fact that what we're doing as more consumers are becoming aware of that gut health is so foundational for health. We wanted to really lean into that. But then also, kind of the second part of our value proposition to also talk about the fact that it's not just about digestion, but also about metabolism and healthy appetite control and helping boost GLP-1. And so that's sort of the combination, a bit of the background and history for the company. I would say just the one other thing I always mention is I actually was inspired after a career as a health and wellness executive. I was inspired to create this company to try to have more impact relative to just better for you products. And a big part of my motivation and inspiration, I know I've shared with you, Suzanne, was actually my younger sister. Her name was Monica, who struggled with her health throughout her adult life. She lived with metabolic diseases like diabetes and obesity and hypertension, actually, before she passed away far too young during complications of her health and a risky childbirth. And that's something that really struck me and really allow me to come to grips with my why I'm here. And I think it is to help other people chart a healthier path, ideally as preventative as possible, but with functional foods that really have real function and science behind them, which we'll talk about, but that are also great tasting, that are also very enjoyable and accessible so that you can use it as a lifestyle, as a daily habit. And so that combination of what we aspire to achieve with what is now Supergut.
And I love Supergut because I'm German and
Yes.
Supergut, like how you write it, is
Super
in
good.
German. Exactly. It's essentially super amazing.
Exactly. I've heard that I've gotten many, many different people that have complimented our name for the German translation of it.
Yeah. So you will have, once you launch in Germany, it's a
There
home
you
run.
go. Germany is not ready. We're going to take off.
Exactly. And I also don't think that there's any other product like Supergut on the market. And it all
Yeah.
comes down to this prebiotic fiber blend that you put in your products, right? So
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
For sure, for sure. So it started from the standpoint of we knew we want that my aspiration was to impact public health broadly, right? And realizing, working with my investors, I realized just how profound the science of the gut microbiome was. But the fact is, there's lots of products that, there's some probiotics and other products out there that aim to do something about gut health, but they're foundational wasn't a product that was nutrition based that had real science and efficacy behind it that could really deliver the benefits of the prebiotic side of gut health, right? Which is what's largely
Mhm.
missing from the Western diet. Prebiotics are mostly found in high fiber plant foods, but most of us just don't get enough. Actually, almost none of us get enough. Like literally, the stats say 5% of US adults get enough of the high fiber foods in your diet that these prebiotics are found in. So we knew we wanted to do something on that side of it, but wanted to do something unique and even more functional because even though all prebiotic fibers are good for you, they're not all created equal. So we did a lot of research into specific classes of prebiotics that have significant clinical evidence behind them. But then we tried to create a diverse set of them so that we can impact the broadest number of people possible with prebiotics that are highly functional, not just for digestion, but again, for metabolic health. And that's how we honed in on these a couple of classes of prebiotics. So one is called resistant starch, and another is called beta glucan, which we get from oats. And we formulated this unique combination that we're able to show there's actually a synergistic effect between certain types of prebiotics. Each and of themselves are very, very powerful and potent for you, but the combination we found, it was synergies like 1 + 1 = 3 type situation. So we're able to show that with some preclinical evidence, kind of existing clinical. We're actually able to patent. We actually have 2 patents on our prebiotic blend because it's a very unique combination of these. And this is actually what led us down the path of kind of not only relying on the existing clinical study or our preclinical. It was always part of the ethos of the company to go out and validate in a really rigorous setting just how potent that this unique prebiotic fiber blend could be on different dimensions of your health. And that's when we decided to do our own clinical study.
And I do think that your study was and still is a landmark study in the CPG world. When it comes to your study design and everything you did with your study, including
Mm.
methodologies, I think you really went the extra mile, and it's not just 1 mile. You essentially went an
The
extra
extra multiple
marathon.
miles.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
And
appreciate
let's
that.
quickly
Yeah.
talk about your study a little bit. So your study had, to begin with, it had 3 arms. You had
Three
an
arms. That's
intervention
right.
group,
Mhm.
then you had a placebo group, and you had a control group. So why
That's
do
right.
you remember why you decided to actually do 3 arms versus just,
Yeah.
standard two, intervention, placebo?
Yeah, absolutely. And so at the highest level, we knew when we wanted to do the study, we wanted to follow more rigorous type of approach that you typically don't see in food and beverage and supplements, more along the lines of what you would see in biotech, right? I mean,
Mhm.
in phase zero, right, for pharma. And so that played into the overall study design. It played into our clinical study team as well. As you know, in addition to Citruslabs, we had some really high caliber, experts in their field to conduct this type of study, which really was a first of this nature in our space. And so clearly we wanted to make it a gold standard rigorous study. And so for us, that meant randomized, double blind, placebo controlled clinical study. A large number of participants. We invited close to 200 participants to the study, and it was 3 arms, just like you said. And the rationale for it was clearly we wanted our intervention. We knew that there was, your standard of care, out there, which is, we did want to compare against just how someone operates in their normal everyday diet and habit with the kind of information that you would get from a primary care physician or a nutritionist if you're really trying to work on your health. Like that's what a lot of people is like the standard of care for many people. But given the level of rigor, we also clearly wanted to have a placebo controlled arm as well in our study to be able to show not just that directionally overall that what we were doing was beneficial, but that specifically we knew that a big part of what we were able to deliver, the goodness and the health benefits, was this unique prebiotic fiber blend. And so that's why we also wanted to have this placebo arm as well, which in many ways, some people look at it as like, wow, you really almost put yourself at a disadvantage because it's not as though your placebo didn't have any functional benefit, right? I mean, we designed a shake that was a very healthy shake. It had the same amount of calories, the same amount of protein, the same flavor profile as our shake, but it just was missing, the prebiotic fiber blend. And so there's health benefits conferred by just having a healthy meal replacement shake, like even outside of our fiber blend. But that was important for us to be able to show that direct comparison, even relative to that placebo shake that was missing our prebiotic blend, that we could show a meaningful, both statistically as well as clinically meaningful difference between those two.
Yeah, so it was double blind, which means that neither the participants nor the researchers
Nor us, nor the
knew,
researchers.
uh,
Yeah.
yes, knew, which was which. Um, and it was decentralized, and it also included a ton of biomarkers. So it
Yes.
included blood work, for example, HbA1c, right? Then we measured weight, we measured waist circumference. We had a lot of validated questionnaires in there for gut health. For example, the GSRS was in there, the
Yeah, the
gastrointestinal
gastrointestinal.
symptom rating scale. I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
like the
that's
whole
right.
name of it.
That's right.
Yeah, and then it also included CGMs, constant glucose monitors. So lots of gold standard methods to measure everything.
Yeah.
What's going on, right?
Yeah, there were a couple other ones as well. So in addition, there were actually a couple of validated health-related quality of life metrics. There was one that was
Hmm.
specific for those who struggle with blood sugar, live with diabetes. There was another one, broader sort of World Health Organization, health-related validated quality of life indices as well. And then we also took poop samples. And so we did
Yes.
the fecal samples as well to do the fecal metagenomics to be able to look at some of the biomarkers of health, in addition to looking at both the clinical and quality of life sort of outcome measures as health. We were like, if we're going to do this, we really want to look at this from many different dimensions. We had a couple of things that we were very keen to look at. Clearly, we wanted to see impact on gastrointestinal health. We wanted to see metabolic health as well, so weight and blood sugar. But we know that what we're doing, and we knew this based on the research, that these prebiotics that were affecting health, it actually is affecting your foundation for health, which is gut health. And when you can positively influence the direction of your gut microbiome, it actually can show up in many different ways as the ultimate health regulator, which is why we wanted to test all these different dimensions of health and quality of life as a result of our study. So yeah, those poor participants didn't know everything they were signing up for, given all the barrage of continuous glucose monitors, blood samples, visiting Quest labs, fecal samples, kind of you name it. We went at it.
But they did it, and they did well.
They did well. They did well. It was a lot. It was a lot. And it was decentralized, as you mentioned, which was key with Citruslabs. I mean, and the rationale for that was we wanted to make sure that we had a pretty broad, and frankly, diverse collection of participants in our study that represented the general population versus just a particular geography area. And so it was important both for the speed of the study and recruitment, as well as, if you recall, we had specific
Hmm.
aspirations, which we met to have a diverse pool and population, for the study. We wanted a certain portion of men and women. We wanted a certain portion of minority participants as well, which I'm very proud that we were able to achieve with our study.
Yeah, same here. And you did that even before it became a buzzword, right? That you
Exactly.
have to have, certain diverse set.
Representation. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And in terms of your study results, what were you most surprised by?
Yeah. So if you ask me that, I'd say the thing I was the most surprised by is the fact that essentially every metric or indicator that we measured moved in a positive study. Well, sorry,
Hmm.
moved in a positive direction with the intervention group. And many, if not most of them, moved in a statistically significant way relative to
Yep.
one or both of the groups, right? And so that's kind of the most surprising thing. It's not as though anything stayed flat or went backwards. Like literally everything we looked at moved positively. It's just a question of how much each of them moved, right? And so clearly, we wanted to see some hard clinical outcomes, right? And we saw that in a very significant way. So I'd say the most significant finding we saw was healthier blood sugar, right? We saw a
Mm-hmm.
material, statistically and clinically significant reduction in HbA1c from the intervention shake relative to the placebo shake. It was the difference between those was 0.7% on the HbA1c, which is a really significant reduction. And, while we have to be careful how we talk about it, that is on par with the clinical results that you see from metformin, which is the oral diabetes medication, typically the first go-to line of defense for someone if their diagnosis pre-diabetic or diabetic. That's what we saw, but this is from drinking a delicious, tasty shake. Right. And so that was, I'd say, the biggest sort of order of magnitude. But we also saw, right, that people maintained healthier weight because we know that the products are very satiating. And so they're able to make healthier decisions in their diet. Like they didn't lose massive amounts of weight like you see on Ozempic or Wegovy. Like this is real
Mm-hmm.
food, right? But we definitely help people maintain a healthier weight and lost weight. And our study was actually even conducted over the holidays,
Yeah.
if you recall, right? And so people actually losing a little bit of weight over the holidays, I actually think is a little breakthrough, even if it's not huge numbers. And then, as you can imagine, so we saw improved digestive health, so less bloating, more regularity, less nausea, and we saw better improvement across essentially all of these health related quality of life, both confidence, like how do I feel? Do I feel better about myself that I'm doing something and I'm, just feeling better every day? But then like some more specific things. So we saw health related quality of life related to like gut brain axis. So people slept better. They had more energy. They had less brain fog as well. And those were the ones that were statistically significant that we saw relative to one or both of the placebo groups. So again, it was really, really encouraging to see essentially everything moving in a positive direction for the intervention group in our study.
And I just want to add that this was also within just 12 weeks. So,
Mhm.
everything that Mark just said happened in essentially just 3 months. So, that's a terrific result.
Thank you. Yeah, no, agreed. And I think it's a big part of why we wanted to do, well, one thing, we didn't want to just do a couple of weeks to just have an indicator. We wanted to do long enough so that you could see substantive results and movement across key clinical measures, but to see the level of thing and the breadth of what we were able to impact across just 3 months, we were quite pleased with as well.
That's fantastic. And I also think that, your study was right on time,
Mhm.
because, many consumers now are increasingly looking for efficacy. They're looking for
Yes.
validation, especially when they decide which products to buy. So did the study also have like a big impact on that, do you think?
Yeah, I do, and I think it's a growing impact as well, right? This is something I knew was part of the ethos of this company, that I wanted to create products that actually delivered on the promise, and that clinical validation was going to be part of it. In some ways, we're a bit ahead of our time when starting to invest and go down this path. It's always been something that's been out there, but in terms of being top of mind from a consumer lexicon, I would say that clinical validation hasn't always been sort of at or near the top. It is something that we're seeing. I'm sure you're seeing it as well. It is the tide is shifting, where we're seeing more consumers, especially those that are looking for functional benefits from foods and supplements and beverages, are increasingly looking for some form of real science or validation, whether that's coming from experts that they know and trust, or whether it's coming from the brand or from researchers and real clinical validation as well. And so we feel like that tide is very much shifting with consumers increasingly looking for science and education about validation behind the products that they're going to invest their hard-earned dollars into. One of the things that we're seeing, which I believe is boosting this, is the overall what I call the Ozempic era that we have fully
Hmm.
entered into, right? Where,
Yes.
as you know, and as most people know now, like Ozempic and these other GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro are fundamentally transforming health for so many people. Largely now for weight loss, they're originally designed for blood sugar control, and more people are coming on these drugs. Everybody is now knows what a GLP-1 is, whereas that wasn't the case even 4 years ago, right when we did our study. But now that that is happening, it's also increasing the specter of consumers looking for other ways to either complement a GLP-1 medication, therapy, or frankly, a natural alternative that can provide you some of the benefits without necessarily going all the way to the pharmaceutical route. And like as more consumers are entering this space, and this is a space at which Supergut we're at the forefront of. We were talking about GLP-1 like 4 or 5 years ago because we knew that was in part how our products work. What we're seeing is more consumers as they become more educated around GLP-1s, both the medications as well as thinking through natural ways to complement or provide alternatives. I think that's also raising the bar from an efficacy standpoint because these drugs are unbelievably powerful, right? It's not a question whether or not they work. Like they literally signal to your brain that that you're not hungry. They physically make you feel fuller, and people just eat a lot less and they lose a lot of weight. And so that is actually translated into even on the supplement and on the food side. Like if you're going to talk about, things related to GLP-1 and appetite control, there's an expectation built in that there's efficacy behind it and there's function.
Hmm.
And consumers are increasingly looking at even either from the way they physically feel or to even before they've tried it to have more clinical validation that says that there's real substance behind this. This isn't just your typical supplement fly by night marketing claim. No, there's some expectation, and I'd say a growing expectation and interest in clinical validation behind the foods and supplements and nutrition that they put in their body, especially accelerated by this whole Ozempic area and the GLP-1. So I think that it's happening. I frankly, if I project out, I think it's going to happen more and more, which I think is a very healthy thing, not just in the areas of GLP-1 and appetite control, but I think broadly around functional health. I think consumers deserve to know, right, and deserve to have some validation or evidence behind, the nutrition that they decide to go after because of what they're looking to for it to do in their lives. So we're obviously very much in support of this continued consumer trend of looking for increased efficacy from nutrition.
Yeah, and I think you are right on time with that as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, no. But
With all of these.
thankfully we weren't too far ahead of our time because you hear that all the time in businesses that had this amazing idea, but kind of the consumers weren't caught up yet. We actually feel like we were originally a bit ahead, right? I mean, the way that you described the study design and everything we were going after did feel it was very unique and still pretty breakthrough. But it just feel like the consumer landscape has in many ways caught up with sort of what we had started a couple of years ago.
Absolutely, yeah. And also when you think of, you mentioned that GLP-1, Ozempic, Wegovy, super powerful, right? But some consumers fear side effects, right? And even
Hmm.
though
Hmm.
not many have like these side effects, I think that the fear of side effects is real.
The fear of side effects
So
is bigger than the side
yeah,
effects, although the side effects is it's
yeah.
substantial. But I'd say the fear of it is even greater than the
Oh
actual
yes,
experience. Hmm.
absolutely. And I think, when you have like a natural uh alternative to it,
Hmm.
right, then it's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think it for us, the way that I think about it is the investment of time, of resources, and frankly, of capital that go into conducting such a rigorous clinical study. We're actually now seeing more of a return on that investment because consumers are increasingly aware of GLP-1s. Consumers are also increasingly aware of gut health, right, and its impact on total health. And so what you're seeing is a lot of brands are coming into the space. Okay, now how can we create something that's relevant for the GLP-1 consumer? Should we just slap GLP-1 on the label or make a claim or what have you? Versus we've been investing in this for years, right? And we actually have the science that validates kind of what our products can do for your health, and even some of the mechanisms for how our products work as well. So yeah, very much feel like we made the right calls, and it's great to now see things coming to the point where we're really feeling like there's a true return on investment. It's something that we obviously lean in, and we'll continue to lean in even more heavily. The fact that yes, our products are clinically validated, and we're not just making a claim, but there's real substance behind it. And it's peer reviewed and published. But I don't know if we mentioned, but we actually have been
Yes, it's
peer reviewed
published.
and published, yes, in diabetes, obesity, and metabolism. So you can read it, the background on our study. But frankly, there's also a feelability to it. Like when you consume our products, consumers feel different, right? You feel things are regular, right? They're flowing kind of the way they should be, but they also feel more satiated. And it's like taking the edge off. So they're not ravenous, walking around hangry all day, kind of running for the next snack. And that's what we want, how we want people to feel. So even beyond the clinical and the science creds, which are very solid, there's a great feelability aspect of our products as well.
Do you think there's a future where you can partner with drug companies? Because obviously, for GLP-1 drugs to work, essentially, they would need to take them indefinitely,
For
right?
the rest
And
of their lives, yes.
exactly, many consumers don't want that, right? They want
I
to
would say
get
that more
off of their
strongly.
medication.
I would
Yeah.
say almost almost no consumers or patients want to stay on those drugs. The vast majority, I mean, the stats say it, and we've surveyed a lot of them as well. Almost all of them want to come off, but at the same
Hmm.
time, almost all of them are scared to death about coming off, right? Because the stats
Yeah.
show and the studies have shown that they're not actually, while incredibly powerful, they're not actually fixing your metabolism, right? I mean, it's a super powerful band-aid, right? So while you are using the band-aid, it absolutely works and kind of keeps your appetite and quiets the hunger noises, and you end up losing a lot of weight. But the studies have shown that the vast majority of consumers, once they come off of one of the GLP-1 meds, they regain the weight. And unfortunately, a number of them actually end up in a less healthy situation than before, because one of the other side effects is people lose a lot of muscle mass, right? And so if you
Yeah.
lost a lot of muscle mass, lost a lot of weight, but a lot of muscle mass, you come off the drugs and you regain the weight and you regain more fat mass, you could be in a less healthy situation than you were before. And so many people have had such life-changing experiences kind of getting down to the weight that they knew they always wanted to be, are really scared to death of reverting, right, and going back to that. And so they feel stuck. And that's where I think we have a great solution, what I call like an off ramp, because at the end of the day, um, in order to maintain your healthier natural weight, lifestyle does come back into play, right? I mean, it's how you move your body, it's what you put into your body, and what, frankly, how do you nourish your gut microbiome as well? And that's where we come into play, like the sustainable solution for healthy weight management, healthy digestive health for life is what we aspire to be. And then back to your question, kind of who knows, like in terms from a partnership standpoint and what the future might hold, because there could be very well an upfront sort of medication driven to get to a certain point, and then a maintenance, arm of the program where consumers are using products like Supergut, and maybe there's others that help maintain those healthy results over time. It's definitely something that I'm interested in exploring. Right now, I'm obviously just focused on what we're doing at Supergut, but I think I could see a pathway where something like that could make a lot of sense.
I mean, Supergut is certainly more accessible than any of
That
these
is
drugs,
that is
right?
true. That's the other part of the price point, and the fact that it is an injection, versus whatever, a tasty bar or a tasty shake or a tasty, or a tasteless powder that you can just pour into anything. That is all like typically $2 to $3 a day, right? Versus $1,000 a month for an injection. So yes, it's more sustainable from a pocketbook standpoint as well.
Exactly. And then consumers can order your products on your website, but you also entered retail this year, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's been a busy year. So we've always had our website, supergut.com, as our primary home base. We actually launched on Amazon about a year ago, and that's actually grown as a pretty substantial, channel for us. But then earlier this year, we initially launched into physical retail. We started with the higher end natural organic stores, like in Erewhon and Bristol Farms and Fresh Time. And then we expanded in the supplement store space with GNC and Vitamin Shop, like nationwide launches with them. But yeah, no, the biggest recent news is our nationwide expansion. We literally just launched earlier this month, or earlier last month, sorry, at Target. Nationwide at Target across our full product line of our GLP-1 booster, unflavored powder, our bars, and our shakes. So please do stop by your local neighborhood Target store to pick some up in brand new packaging formats as well. And frankly, I think that's a big part of the next step for the business is where we're taking it is to really build a large, accessible, omni-channel functional food brand, right? And so that means wherever you are shopping, we want to make Supergut pretty ubiquitous and even more accessible and available, whether it's in a physical store, whether it's online. And so yeah, this is a big next step for us.
That's fantastic. And do you think that because you're now in retail, obviously more people are aware of Supergut, does it really help you to grow more, or is online still like number one?
Yeah, so I think that it is as of today, online still is number one. But if you project out the next couple of years, I do anticipate that more of our growth going forward will come from physical retail stores than from online. I think we have a strong, robust, and a growing online business. But when you think about, despite the growth online, if you look at the average consumer and where most of their nutrition products are purchased, it's, an order of magnitude higher, right, in physical retail. So I do think that is going to be the primary growth channel, even though we'll always have a home for, at supergut.com in particular, for those that want to just buy online and the convenience of it, and in particular those that want to purchase on a subscription so that we can just make it super easy. You don't even have to think about it. You go with your product, it just shows up on your door a month, but you can adjust it anytime. And you want that kind of high touch hand holding relationship. So part of our community, clearly, we'll always be there at supergut.com.
I love that. Also, that I'm not sure if it was a pun with you want it on subscription. It's super easy, super gut.
There you go. There you go. So it works in so many different ways. It's super good, it's super
Super
easy,
good,
and it's
super
super gut,
easy.
right? Exactly. Exactly right.
Amazing. Mark, thank you so much for your time today. And if people want to reach out, where can they find you?
Yeah, I'd say the best place is online, on our website, supergut.com. We're also pretty active on social media as well. We try to put out a lot of content that is both entertaining as well as educational to promote our brand and also promote just this topics of gut health and healthy natural appetite control as well. So we're at Supergut, largely on Instagram, but across social media platforms. And then to find a product, again, either Supergut or Amazon or at one of your local retail stores, and most recently Target.